Can someone confirm that you can see my screen? Next moving screen is moving. That so that just to make sure that you can see screen as well. I just want to put in the chat window and let me know that you can see screen moving and say yes, screen moving. Someone was saying voice is not clear. Am I audible, loud and clear? Cyrus is saying because usually my side audio is clear, but there's sometimes screen is moving. Great, and the audio might be clear as well. Audio is clear. Yes. Brilliant, thank you. So if for some reason there is an audio issue, log out and log back in. It's probably chances are from your side as well. Brilliant. Okay, so what happens is usually we get excellent feedback in these sessions, even though it's free, but I know your time is very, very important. So if at some point in time we're going to get a feedback, we'll take a feedback, give us a genuine feedback. Usually we get 99.9% 5-star. But sometimes I know that it's difficult to make everyone happy. But for some reason, if we're not, I would love your feedback and say what we can do to make it 5-star next time if you don't think we deserve 5. So this is also being reviewed and helpful on our Trustpilot or Bark or Google. That helps us to spread the word. If you like it, if you don't like it, come and tell to me. If you like it, I would really appreciate later if you can give a feedback on to us as well. So with that, let's see what we are going to learn. It's not today, it's over the next 3-4 days. So there'll be multiple sessions which are going to happen. So whatever we can cover today, we will cover. If not, remaining topics we are going to cover. So first we'll begin with cloud overview. And in that module 1 cloud overview, we'll look at things like characteristics, properties, benefits of cloud. We will look at CapEx versus OpEx model. This is very important from a concept point of view, why everyone is moving towards cloud. Now, some of these things you might have see that say, hey, I already know that. I highly recommend you to listen to them again carefully because you might be learning definitely something or new or others. We'll also talk about cloud service model, which is infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, and software as a service. So, and with example as well in the context of Azure or Google or Oracle or AWS. We'll look at shared responsibility model because in these different models, there's a lot of overlap between cloud vendor and yours. So you might be wondering, what is my role if cloud vendor is going to do? So what those responsibilities are and who owns them. We'll also look at cloud deployment model, public, private, and hybrid as well. Once that's done, then we're going to look at actual Azure architecture. So this still here, it's applicable for whether you're doing for AWS cloud, Google cloud, Oracle cloud, any cloud. These things will be applicable for everyone. Then we'll move on module 2. We'll be talking about Azure architecture and services. Now, today is will be, as I said, whatever we can cover, we'll cover that on this. Now, we'll be starting with Azure services landscape. We'll look at global infrastructure, things like geography, region, availability zone, fault domain, update domain. And these are important for you because you need to know these things so that you can do high availability, disaster recovery, availability time, uptime, etc. as well. Then we'll cover another concept, which is Azure resources. What is a resource means, what is a resource group means, what is management groups means, and so on. Then we'll look at subscription, and as a part of the program, we'll give you step-by-step instructions to create a free subscription, free cloud account so that you can practice. And there are different other type of subscriptions we'll talk about. Then we'll look at management tools. There are different ways to create or manage your cloud resources. You have a graphical user interface, which is portal. We'll look at different type of shell. Cloud shell we call it's a Bash and PowerShell if you have heard of. There's also command line interface. And if you're doing for DevOps or next level, which is Azure administration, etc., you will be hearing a lot about ARM templates, what these are. Then we'll begin with actual services. We'll begin with compute service. There are different type of compute. Again, this is a fundamental, so this is going to be high level, but as we go deeper on, if you're going for more advanced things like administration, solution architect, DevOps, then you'll go deeper into these topics. But for now here, enough to know what is a virtual machine, what is an app services, what are container implementation on Azure, what is Kubernetes implementation on Azure, which is Azure Kubernetes Service and virtual desktop. Once that's done, then we're going to continue this module 2, and there are 3 basically modules, or you can say 3 learning path for Azure Fundamental AZ-900. So we're trying to map as closer to as that program from Microsoft. But what we are doing is what I've done is I've enhanced a little bit more what Microsoft gives you. We have added a little bit more so you understand a little bit more from not just Microsoft, but additional things. So we'll cover the second core services like component like VNet, which is a virtual network, VPN, Express Route, and Azure DNS. Then we look at storage services. There are 3 different types of services: block storage, object storage, file storage. So what are those? Blob, disk, file, queue, etc. We'll look at identity and access management, another service, which is the AD, Defender, conditional access, and a lot more. We'll also do some hands-on labs in this module where we actually creating the virtual machines. We'll be doing some what Microsoft, which is quite lightweight, and you should be able to do it even if you're not a technical person. And we'll look at some of the sample exam questions. Then we'll look at third module, which probably I don't think we'll be able to complete today everything. So that's why keep in our inbox. There'll be another session happening, session 2, session 3, and we're going to keep it roughly around 2 over these sessions so that you get engaged and you don't lose attention, because I think there'll be a lot of information going to come here. So in future, like I think day 2 or day 3, we'll be looking at management and governance, which is pricing, costing, calculations, how do pricing works, and then how can you calculate your cost, which will be Azure, which is a big thing if you're coming from finance or your project management side as well. We'll look at how do you manage these costs using something called as tags in Azure. And when we are creating some machines, and Pragyan is going to show you behind the scene, how does tag look like, how do the resources look like. So we're going to see all of that. We'll also look at blueprints, policies, and logs, which are security components or management governance components. We'll also, I think management, then we'll look at some of the monitoring tools like advisors, Azure Advisor, Azure Monitor, Azure Service Health, and all these will be helpful if you're managing your cloud account. And of course, no doubt, hands-on lab and sample exam questions. So let me know, how does it sound? Are you guys all excited? Put in the chat window and let me know, are you guys excited about this? And any questions you have, keep posting these questions as well. So Kranti, when is the day 2, 3 coming? Keep coming in the email inbox. There will be an email around that. Yes, we are recording the session. Recording will also be available on YouTube channel. So those who want to recording, K21Academy.com/YouTube. Can someone from my team reply? On the everyone, K21Academy.com/YouTube will be our recording will be available for this. Also, recording will be available for day 1 today, and rest day 2, 3, 4 onwards, it's going to be live. So you have to jump on a live session. Only today's session is going to be recording. Yeah. So where do we find the chat window? The Mokhtar, wherever you've just, I've seen your question. So that is where the place, you're the right place, chat question. Yeah. So yeah, all the sessions will be free. All of these sessions will be free, but you have to do some effort. You have to attend live. So, and the recording will be available only for today. Rest all recordings will be, you have to do the live. And remaining day 2, 3, 4, it's for our members, but you can, if you're not member, you attend live and it's all free. Yeah, brilliant. Okay, so let's move on with that here. No, also we said we are going to do this hands-on labs. Microsoft suggests probably 8 or 9 labs. We are going to do a little bit additional 10 labs. If you want to see list of all the hands-on lab, at the bottom, if you see here, there'll be some additional documents or blog pointing to our blog, which you might be seeing. So there'll be hands-on lab. If you want to see the list of all the hands-on lab, we recommend K21Academy.com/AZ-900 is the list of, you can refer that later. Now, for those who joined a little bit early, I've already mentioned, we sent an email. And if you forgot, look at your email again, which should have from contact@K21Academy.com on free account. And those who are part of my program members, you should have received from a different, our standard channel, our standard email ID, and in our WhatsApp group as well. So also a free cloud account, how to create a free cloud account. There's a step-by-step video that I've done. If you missed it, maybe after this class, go on free account. It's you get it for 30 days free. After that, you can upgrade to pay-as-you-go model as well. So K21Academy.com/Azure02 is the URL for that. As I said, we are going to do hands-on lab. For those who are members, you will be able to see these questions, or sorry, all the labs, videos, recording, and also the well-done step-by-step videos inside the portal for you. So ask in our WhatsApp group if you're unable to find it, but my team will guide and share these things. Now, before we start, who am I? A lot of you guys already know me from my previous sessions you might have attended, or if you're coming from Oracle background, or if you've done our other programs like AWS, Google, Kubernetes, DevOps, and other things as well. But in a nutshell, I have 22 plus years experience working as data and a multi-cloud architect. I started my career as a DBA back in India. Then I moved to UK in 2005. And then since then, I'm doing freelancing. I'm also founder of K21Academy. Basically been working into for almost 5-6 years. And what I'm biggest proud of is I've helped 10,000 plus individuals like you to learn cloud DevOps security. So not only we teach and train, but we also actually implement these we have done. So I was also part of one of the biggest migrations, cloud migrations for a big health services here in UK to migrate entire applications from on-premise to cloud in a multi-cloud environment as well. So enough about me. One tip I'm going to take away from you is, and I want to hear out from a lot of you guys, how many of you are our 10 plus years experience, who are working on-premise or who are working into IT, but have not yet moved to cloud. And that is what I was back in 2013, 12, 13 as well. So put in the chat window, and I want to see how many of you guys are probably have done more than 6 to 8 years plus experience. So Syed is saying put in the chat window and say I'm less than 6 years or more than 6 years as well. Just put in the chat window. I want to see how many are less number of years experience, like less than 6 or less than 7. For this saying more than 6 years, Syed, okay. The reason why, okay, lot of them are more than 10 years, 6, 7, more than 6 years. There are a couple of guys who are less than as well, but most of the guys are more than 6, 7 years. And that is what I was back in 2013, 14. I felt a little bit stagnant. I was not growing. I was nervous about what will be the next job is going to be. And that's where I started learning cloud. That changed the whole trajectory. And this is not to show off or brag, but this is an actual number, which since learning cloud, and once I picked up one cloud, I picked up second cloud, third cloud. This is just to inspire that, hey, if you learn cloud, this is where industry future is. Keep learning and you'll grow. I'm confident about that. And it's not just me. I have hundreds and hundreds of guys who have been learning these and have got success as well. So just to inspire that, hey, you might be now here, but if you continue learning this, wait for a year or two, and I'm confident you will earn a lot more in cloud. That's where industry is moving towards as well. With that, I'm going to also introduce you to Pragyan. You're in a safe hands. He's a Microsoft certified trainer, 16 plus years experience. He takes a lot of our data programs as well, Azure data engineering, Azure data analytics, Azure solution architect, data analyst, as I said, Azure fundamental. He has lots and lots of knowledge of. He's a Microsoft certified trainer, so he'll be teaching you as well. And I'm going to add from my bit what I would have done differently if I'm coming from here. If I have to redo this whole program again, going back 5-6 years back when I started my cloud journey, especially Azure journey. Now, before that, one final question you have is, tell me a little bit more about type B if you're a complete beginner in cloud. If this is first time, or maybe you've just done maybe 1 month or less, type B. If you have done something a little bit about cloud, whether it's AWS cloud, Google cloud, Oracle cloud, Azure cloud, type intermediary, or if you're already doing like if you think you're expert, type E. So BIE. I want to see how many at what level, so that and because I might be asking some questions later point as well. So type BI or intermediate expert as well on here, and then we'll start immediately after that. So I can see a lot of beginners. There is one intermediate in OCI. So some of you guys who already work intermediate, you might initial first module, which is cloud service model, deployment model, you might find it like, oh, it's self-explanatory, but still you will pick up some things. Let me know if you can answer the questions, because at each section we will be quizzing you. So pay special attention into these things and say, a lot of you guys are BB beginner. OpenStack, for those who don't know, OpenStack is an open source cloud. Industry is moving towards more commercial clouds like Google, Azure, AWS, Oracle as well. So a lot of BB beginners, and there's few here and there intermediate as well. So those are intermediate. Let's see if you can answer these questions which we are going to ask. So let's make this session workshop interactive. Focus, ask as many questions as you can, please, because my promise is that I'll make sure that I'll answer all of the questions, if not today, over the next 2, 3, 4 days. If you're watching it YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, post your questions so that my team will be going and picking up, and we'll be sharing these questions, all the technical questions, relevant questions after the class as well on here. Yeah, so focus and let's make this session interactive. So first I'm going to begin, before I hand it over to Pragyan, I wanted to discuss why learn cloud, because I always begin with keeping N in mind. I should have a reason, because there are 100 things to learn, but why exactly I'm learning cloud? So if in order to understand why or why I need to learn, let me take you a couple of years back, basically. And 80s and 90s was the era when the development process or IT software development process used to be waterfall model, where you learn everything, you basically get the requirement in one go, and project used to develop 2, 3, 4 years, and then finally project used to be delivered as a part of that. And that was not a very good way of developing the applications, as you might have seen, you might see later. Then the application architecture used to be called monolithic, one big bulky applications. My deployment used to be in a physical servers, and my application used to be in a customer's infrastructure, data centers, big data centers, which used to take a lot of effort. Then came 2000 era of 2000 or 2000s, and that's when I started my journey, where development slowly started using agile method, which is like you develop a little bit, make it to live, and then maybe the development cycle shortened a little bit. Instead of 3, 4 years, maybe 1 year, 2 years. My application used to be 3 tier. You have a database tier, application tier, or a web tier. And just when I started 3, 4 years later, 2004-5 came, virtual we started packaging our applications in a VMware or virtualized servers or VM servers. And my application started going out into hosted environment, rather than having every customer having their own data centers, maybe a service provider who will host the data centers. And then when I was working that, suddenly I saw in 2010-11 onwards, game started changing. And that's when it started making me nervous, because I was very happy till 2012-13. I was earning very good on 10-12 years. But then I realized that, hey, I need to grow and learn. And that's where my learning journey started. So if you are, and those of you who are just starting out, it's not late right now. It's still very, very infancy stage. So that's when the development model started using DevOps. Now, microservices started developing. Now you see everywhere microservices. And if you're not from that background, don't worry. We might, as we move forward, I might add some bonus classes where we talk about these DevOps and microservices concepts. These microservices used to start getting double on containers, and my application infrastructure, with the help of these microservices, containers, and DevOps, every infrastructure services started moving into cloud. There's a big, pretty much lot more customers are like still very infancy stage, but then if you see the growth point of view, cloud, it's huge. And now some customers might, or some of you guys might be saying, but bank are not moving, or might say, security is a problem. And that's where we'll come to point something called as private cloud, which you're going to hear that as well. So if you look at the cloud market back 2020, last year, 2021, 2022, it was $400 billion industry, $400 billion industry. And it's going to grow exponentially. And if you look at almost double in next 4 or 5 years, and then further double. So every 5 years, it's doubling and it's growing exponentially on cloud. And all these things are resulted into cloud opportunities. If you look at Microsoft Azure's growth, just prior to COVID, they were 44 billion. They've grown exponentially from, if you look at 2014-15 to 2019, from a 5 million to 44 million, 45 million, 9x, 900 times, 900 percentage growth into that. If you look at 44 billion, and this I'm talking about pre-COVID. With COVID, a huge boost onto the Azure cloud. If you look at more than 90% Fortune 500 companies use Azure. And I'm not vouching for Azure. I'm saying that's why I started picking up Azure, especially from US and the UK. A lot of customers are moving to Azure cloud. It's fastest growing cloud provider for that. And that has resulted into a lot of job opportunities into the cloud, 25% growth into the job market and cloud market. And wherever you're from India, US, UK, Canada, Middle East, Singapore, you will see job opportunities. I just want to know, where are you from? Just put in the chat window and let me see, where are you from, guys? Put in the chat window and say, Which slide you want, Arbar, for brief? Which slide you want brief, please? UK, India, uh, USA, India, USA, India, Pune, India, US, Dubai, Singapore, Canada, US, Malaysia. Brilliant. Yes, Nigeria. Now, guys, later part will also be helping you. So, and if you need any help on the job, post that as well. So I can see, I might do another session on how to prepare for the jobs as well. Philippines, brilliant. Okay, so you will have, see, just type in your Google and say Azure jobs, and you will see the job opportunities as well. Now, so the only thing is that this is Azure fundamental is a fundamentally the beginners or a overview of fundamental concept. And one question was asked was, hey, can I get a job just for fundamental? And I'm sorry to disappoint you, but unfortunately, just having a Azure fundamental may not get you a job. You might get a very entry level job, or someone like, I personally feel that in order for you to actually get a good job and a high paying job, you have to go for either an associate level or an expert level, which is associate level AZ-104 or AZ-500, which is security if you're working security. Azure AZ-104, I'm going to talk about these certifications a little bit later on AZ-305, AZ-400, but this is what you are beginning or focusing. But my session to you would be complete your Azure fundamental certification, or even if you don't do the certification, complete your Azure fundamental knowledge probably within a week or 10 days max, and then start working on any of these certifications, maybe Azure or these knowledge basically. More than certification, it's knowledge about Azure administration, Azure DevOps, Azure solution architect, whatever you want to do. I'll talk about that later as well. And maybe once we do day 2 or day 3 or day 4, I'm going to talk about more this learning path, what all things you should need to do if you want to become an Azure administrator. If you want to know a little bit more about, for example, solution architect, let me know in the comment. If we see enough comments, we might talk about Azure solution architect. Similar roadmap like that. If you want to know a little bit more about Azure DevOps, leave it in the comment and say, I want to know a bit more DevOps. So in future, not today, because today we want to complete this Azure fundamental, but we might be covering these later, Azure fundamental, this roadmap like that. What I would do, because I've done these things now, and a lot of our students have done it. So what path we recommend you to leave them in the comment as well, and so on. Also, we'll tell you what all hands-on lab you should be performing for that particular knowledge. You want to become an administrator, you want to become a developer, you want to become a DevOps engineer, you want to become a security on cloud, you want to become architect, you want to do data engineer, you want to do whatever you want to do, data scientist, whatever you want to do, put in the comment, and then over the next, when I'm preparing for the day 3, 4, 5, then I can include those things as well for you for this. So this is 30 plus hands-on lab. Again, links will be in the footer for you for when you go later. As I said, my objective is for you to inspire, to take action, and see you're not alone here. All of these guys that you see on screen, they started their journey with exactly like you a couple of years back. So make sure you take action. A lot of guys come and attend these sessions and take no action. Action is very important. You need to review, revise, make notes, share your notes. I would love if you can share your notes, what you've learned, and then that's how you're going to learn and pick these things. And it's not just certification. Certification is just one part. Job is important. So make sure you get job as well, or we'll help you in the job as well. And again, by implementing, by putting your knowledge or implementing and focusing on that. So with that, I'm going to basically take a minute to see if there is any question. And you can post as well. Yeah. And let me take 1 or 2 questions, and then we'll move on. And I'm going to hand it over to Pragyan on for cloud service models as well. Okay, there's some guys saying interested in Azure solution architect administration. We'll talk about that, Bhavani. Can I directly go for Azure AZ-104 certificate without? Oh, very good question. So Nikuzin saying, can I directly go with AZ-104? Yes, absolutely. Let me talk about to make Pragyan presenter and make presenter. Pragyan, let me know once you share a screen. But in the meantime, I'll take 1 or 2 more questions while Pragyan is sharing his screen. 𝗕𝗔𝗴𝗡 is saying, Atul, after I finish one course, say AZ-104, will I get a coupon or a discount if I enroll for another course after that? 𝗕𝗔𝗴𝗡, I think if you're part of my program, there is a we have a bonus courses for you. We can give you a bonus for that, and you get it as your something. So 𝗕𝗔𝗴𝗡, if it looks like you're part of my program member, one of program, speak to my team. They will help you as well. Praveen, I've not seen your question. There's a lot of messages are coming. Praveen, I'll pick up your question. Praveen, your question is related to data science. We have I'll pick that. There are a lot of questions that are coming. Sorry, guys. Are you going to teach us how to create a free account? I have already given that. My team will share that. We have already a video on how to create a free account on Azure. How to join a how to join a Telegram community. Just go to this URL, K21Academy.com/Azure community, and you'll be there. K21Academy.com/Azure community. Over to you, Pragyan.
All right, thank you so much. And is my voice clear?
Man, you're much clearer than me. You always very yes, your voice is clear. Yes.
Awesome. Thank you so much, sir. So first of all, hello everybody, and welcome to this session of AZ-900. My name is Pragyan, and I'm a Microsoft certified trainer. It's been 16 plus years I'm into this field, and I provide training on 3 core areas. My core areas are Azure, where I cover Azure AZ-104, which is your Azure administration, AZ-204, Azure development. Then we do have DevOps, and then the other resources are also there from the Azure family. Secondly, I also provide training on data platform. I cover DP203, DP500, DP050, DP300. These all are the codes. Initially, 203 is for data engineering, 500 for like enterprise data analyst as well. And then we can have the Azure database administration. So these all are the different type of areas where I generally provide. Plus, I also provide training on the Power Platform, the complete Power Platform, Power Apps, Power Automate, Power Virtual Agent. Then we have Power BI and so on. So in this particular session, we will be going to cover about the cloud services, and then what is the cloud overview. We'll talk about characteristics and then benefits. What do you mean by CAPEX? What is an OPEX? What is these 3 models and all about? What is a shared responsibility model? And what are the different type of deployment model that are already available to us when we are going to work with the cloud services? So without any delays, let's get started. So just wanted to confirm, is my screen visible to everybody?
Yes, Pragyan. It is. This is. If you go to the next screen, I think it's clear to me. Yeah, it is. Now, I just wanted to add to your point. We'll be having more data sessions in future. So keep an eye on inbox email where I'm going to bring you again on to Pragyan, your data analytics, your data engineering are superb sessions as well. Yeah, so we're going to bring you on those points. Let's continue from. I can see your screen. Yeah, continue.
Sure thing. Perfect. So now here we are going to start with the very basic terminology, that is cloud. What is cloud computing initially? Or how can you define a cloud initially? So the basic approach here is that cloud computing is a process, or it's a delivery of computing the services. So you will be able to provide different type of services. You can go with servers, like we have storage, databases, networking, software, analytics, intelligence, and moreover the internet, the cloud, which actually enable the faster innovation, flexible resources, and economies of a scale. So the best part about this cloud computing is about here we use a concept known as pay-as-you-go model. You typically pay only for the cloud services you use, which helping lower your operating cost as well. And you can run your infrastructure more efficiently and scale as your business needs are changes. So Here, when we will work with your cloud computing, it literally provides companies, right? Companies for to provide or to work with different type of services. Like we do have the compute services, and then we have storage, networking, analytics, and there are many other approaches are there which are initially be used when you are working with the cloud computing implementation. So initially, the services where we focus in the cloud computing includes your compute power, like it will give you the capability to work with Linux servers or maybe the web applications. Then you can be able to store any type of information. Maybe you want to go with a file or the databases, because it gives you the opportunity to work with three type of main criterias, right? We will be able to store structured data, semi-structured data, and unstructured data. These three are three different options, three different approaches are there, which we will be able to use for with my working Azure implementation or maybe the cloud implementation. As far as the networking is the concern, it also gives you the capability to work with secure connections. And it gives you the opportunity to work with secure connections between your cloud provider and your company as well. And there they use a terminology, we call them shared responsibility. So I will be going to discuss that part as well very soon. Gradually, when we will proceed further, as far as analytics is the concern, so that's the another benefit about cloud computing, you can say, another service you can find out with cloud computing, that it also works with terminologies like visualizing or maybe the telemetry or the performance data. All these things are basically the core services which you will be able to get in the cloud computing. So while working with your cloud computing, these are the very basic characteristics which we actually need to know. The first thing, it's an on-demand self-service. As soon as you get the connectivity with your Azure resources or Azure like cloud, you will easily be able to like demand the services that you would like to use. Suppose if you want to work with a database, you want to work with a virtual machine, you want to work with maybe like a programming environment, you want to work with your data warehousing solution. So there is no human intervention needed to get the resources, as everything will be available to you via services here. It has a broad network access because it is on cloud. So you just only require an internet connection and a subscription, and you will be able to use or you will be able to access anywhere in this world. Resource pooling. It also provides you the concept of resource pooling. And there we actually focused on the concept of shared responsibility of the resources, that what all are the responsibility which is shared. And there are very important parties you can find out here for these services. We call them the service provider. In our case, it is Microsoft, and the service consumer, who is actually going to, or who is actually your customer who is consuming those services there. Now, as far as the elasticity is the concern, it gives you a rapid elasticity. You don't require to purchase any additional machines or any other options if you want to maybe scale out yourself or maybe you want to scale up, right? There is no upfront cost you need to pay. It's just a drag away. And then measured services, as I have told you, that we use the concept of pay as you go model. So you are actually going to pay only for what you are going to use. And that's the idea of your or characteristics of your cloud computing. Proceeding with that, elasticity and scalability are very important terminologies which we generally like follow in the world of cloud. So scalability is what? It's just a strategic operation for adding computing resources to support demand. So when you will go for the scalability purpose, in the scalability, we will be able to work with two type of or two approaches which are related to the scalability implementation. And these two approaches are known as your scale up, scale down, scale in, and scale out. Just to give you a quick view of that what is this scale up, scale down, scale view, and so on. So let me give you a quick view.
Before, while you're doing that, this is a common question get in exam: cloud scalability versus elasticity, and people get confused about elasticity. So yeah, over to you, Pragyan. Thanks.
Sure thing, sure thing. So now moving to that, let me pull out. There is a very important file that I'm just looking at. Okay, hold on. Okay.
While you are
Fine.
picking this, let me know.
Yes.
I'll take one or two questions. There are a lot of questions, guys. So
Sure.
have patience, but keep sending these questions. Stephen is saying, I'm a DB and currently my organization databases are on premises. Do you teach SQL Server database admin on Azure as well? Yes, we do teach. So I would suggest that there are two programs for that. One is a database administrator, SQL database administrator, and Stephen, second is Azure data engineer. My suggestion to you would be go for data engineer, because I myself was a Oracle DBA when I started my journey in 2000, 2001, 2002, but I was an Oracle DBA. And I realized that databases, it's better to go for data engineering. So you'd not, as a part of the data engineering, you will be doing SQL databases, which are relational databases, but also other non-relational databases, NoSQL databases, and Azure Data Factory, Azure Data Lake, Lakehouse, and a lot of 𝗕𝗵𝗄𝗧 and a lot of other things as well. So after this class, my team will send an email with the free class that will help you to understand more about Azure data engineering. Let me know which country you are from as well. Over to you, Pragyan, if you're ready. Otherwise, I'll take one more question.
Sure. Yes. So now here I'm talking about when the scalability is the concern. There are two approaches you will be able to find out. I'm just going to share a quick image for that. Let me show you that as well. So here we have a concept of scale up and scale down, scale in and scale out. Two terminologies has been used. Whenever we talk about the scalability part, specifically when you want to scale in the cloud, this is what the scale up and scale down scenario, where suppose if I have a virtual machine with me, and in that virtual machine, I have one single CPU followed by some RAM or something, I will be able to scale it up as per my requirement. And as I have told you, there is no upfront cost or there is no hardware to purchase. You can simply be able to perform this task using by using the drag and drop operations or drag operations, because we have the scaler who can help me out or who can help us out for increasing your resources and then decreasing your resources. Reason being is that it also have the opportunity, we call them the auto scaling. So as soon as the threshold is unable to fulfill, or it is if the current percentage of threshold is reached, it will automatically scale up or maybe scale down as the traffic is going on. On the other side, when you will go, so it is always be known as your vertical scaling. Okay. On the other side, I have this another member of the same family. We call them scale in and scale out. So when I use the word scale in and scale out, this is basically also known as your horizontal scaling. So when I use the word horizontal scaling is all about where if the requirement is there, you required more and more machines. So as I have told you, we do have the concept of auto scaling. And with the help of that concept, we can easily be able to scale out or scale in as per the load of information which is there. So that's where the scalability is initially be performed. On the other side, if you can check that, I have the terminology elasticity. We have the elasticity. So whenever we talk about the terminology or whenever we use this terminology elasticity is just another approach. You can say that elasticity is basically a property of a cloud, which is grow or shrink capacity for CPU, memory, and storage resources to adapt to the changing demands of an organization. So it provides you the resources which is required for the current workloads, but also scales up and scale down to handle peak utilization period as well. While scalability, suppose that if you also want to add more resources to it, or if you want to scale up or scale down inside this, that is another important feature you can find out at this point, because scalability is all about is also the ability of a system or a network to handle the increased load or usage. And elasticity is the ability to automatically expand and contract resources to meet the demand. So they both are kind of, you can say, member of the same family, and they both work together. That's where the elasticity and scalability takes place.
Brilliant,
Moving to
Pragyan. I want to move a little bit slightly faster on this topic and maybe spend more time on two because we have 8 hours in total. We want to close other things as well. Yeah. So I don't want to rush you, but at the same time, focus what's important from a more on a cloud and Azure, more focused towards Azure later part. Over to you.
Sure thing. So these are the benefits of the cloud. We do have the high availability. We have the scalability, predictability, governance, elasticity, reliability, security, and the manageability. High availability is always be a task to keep services up and running for a long period of time. On the other side, scalability is completely focused on to increase or decrease the resources for any given workload. Moving towards the elasticity part as well. Elasticity is mostly focused on, or it is the ability to automatically or dynamically increase, decrease the resources as needed. On the other side, I have the reliability, which is just another important approach you can find out. Reliability is totally focused on that whatever data resources you are going to use, right? They are actually fulfill all the criterias which are required to be qualify to being to be a resource right here. Moving to that, we do have the predictability. Predictability is just another approach where we do the predictions initially, right? It is actually for the cost considerations. When you want to consider the cost, for the cost consideration, you will use predictability. And then we do have the security as well. Security here, we use different type of security mechanisms when we want to secure our resources. So cloud providers offer a broad set of policies, technologies, controls, and expert technology skills that can provide better security than most organizations can otherwise achieve. On the other side, it also gives you the governance. It helps you to govern the resources as well, and also help you to work with the manageability part, where we will be able to manage our resources by using whatever skills that we would like to implement here. So when you are working with the cloud, there are two things.
Just one point on there. If you go to the previous slide, like guys, these are more also when you're writing an exam or anything, these are the characteristics. You might be getting a questions like, oh, which one is benefit of what all benefits of cloud? Okay, and maybe so don't worry too much about if you don't remember these things. This is more, I hope you understand the concepts better. Over to Pragyan. Let's keep moving here. Good one.
Sure thing. Moving towards the CapEx versus the OpEx approach. Please understand, in the previous years, startup companies literally needed to acquire a physical premises and infrastructure to start their business and begin trading. Large amount of money were need to get a new business up and running or to grow an existing company as well. And they would have to buy new data centers or maybe new servers to allow them to build out new servers to their customers. That is no longer the case. Nowadays, the organizations literally sign up for a service from a cloud provider to get up and running, which enables them to begin selling or providing these services to their customers more quickly without the need of the significant upfront cost. So we have two approaches here. We call them the CapEx and OpEx. Okay, CapEx and OpEx. CapEx refers to CapEx is basically known for the consumption-based model initially, right? And you can also call them a capital expenditure. On the other side, OpEx is about the operational expenditure. So what is a CapEx initially? CapEx is initially the spending of money on the physical infrastructure upfront, and then you are deducting that expenses from your tax bill over time. And it is an upfront cost which has a value that reduces over time. On the other side, we do have the OpEx, which is your operational expenditure, which is spending money on services or products now and being built for them now as well. So we can deduct these expenses from our tax bill in the same year, and there is no upfront cost you pay for a service or a product that you are actually going to use. So it creates benefits over a long period of time, usually non-recurring and related to the purchase permanent assets, because you need to do some investment for purchasing the machines and the services or the clouds or the resources, or you can say the licenses. On the other side, OpEx does not give you any of these type of operations. So here you can create immediate benefits, and recurring cost can be done for the doing business operations. And here you are initially focused on renting the resources apart from purchasing the resources. And renting the resources is a much cheaper approach on comparison to your capacity expenditure or capex operations. So this is the basic difference between these two terminologies, capex and opex. Then
just to add to that point, sorry, just to add to that point, why cloud became more famous was that there's no capital expense. There's no, I don't need to buy servers. Only I'm paying for operational expense. So as I use, I pay, and that's why it's a big for CFOs, finance and the companies. Tomorrow, so for example, I started this K21Academy. I needed a lot of infrastructure to have all of you guys here and do a lot of services that I provide. I don't do any of that. We do a lot of implementation for our customers. So I don't need to do for practice. I don't need to do everything on my own. I don't need to buy servers. I need to just go to cloud and pay as I use them. And then if I don't use for POCs, we give it back to the cloud provider. And that's why it became OPEX model became very interesting for cloud. And that's why a lot of customers are moving towards cloud. Over to you.
Yeah. And it is always be a good investment for the people who are starting their company from the zero level, because all the upfront cost is automatically going to be decreased, because as the licenses and everything are already available, and literally they are so much cost effective as well, and the costing is pretty much affordable for almost every particular business, whatever business we will be going for. So let's have something, and let's try to understand what we generally be able to go with. So a company wants to migrate its current on-premises servers to Azure. They want to ensure that the servers are running even if a single Azure data center goes down. Which of the following terms refers to the solution that need to be in place to fulfill this requirement? So you will always find the questions like this.
Yeah, don't give the answer. Hold on, don't give the answer yet. I want people to comment it. What will be answer? A, B, C, D. And again, this may be a little bit confusing. You don't understand. Don't worry about it. Put in the chat window what is will you think is A, B, C, D. And if you don't get it, don't worry. That means all you need to do is read a little bit more about this topic as well. Okay. And while you finish the question, don't answer that right now, Pragyan. I'm going to take 1 or 2 questions because there are further questions which I wanted to pick. Over to you, Pragyan.
Sure thing. So now at this point, think about it, like maybe you can take quick 5 seconds and think about your answer, right? And then we'll just go further.
Good. In the meantime, let's pick up the questions. So CapEx, the question from Hazma is King. Hazma, are you part of my training program as well? Because it looks like your name looks familiar, but anyway. Could you please explain elasticity concept with a real-time example? So elasticity is where something which basically expands and comes back. So you take a spring, that's why we go the picture. So if you click on a spring, you can expand it, but then the minute you leave it, it comes back. How do I put in the context of cloud? For example, I have a functions as a service. Later, I think day 3, we are going to talk, day 2 or day 3, we are going to talk about one of the applications called functions as a service or serverless. So the minute you use it, fine. The minute you don't use it, it will come back to 0, or it will come back to the minimal configure that you do. That's elasticity. Then there was one more, I think, forgot what was the term one? Scalability. Scalability is I have an ability to increase it. I can go from 2 to 5 or 5 to 6 or 2 to 7 and so on. That's scalability. Yeah. CapEx and OPEX model. CapEx, capital expense, is primarily in the context of the on-premise infrastructure where you spend a lot of money upfront. OPEX is operational expense, which is more in the context of cloud, because cloud you do a lot more OPEX, you hardly have any CapEx. Whereas in on-premise infrastructure, you have a lot more CapEx, which is a capital expense in front, and then operating expense less big compared to your on. With that, I'm getting a lot of question answers as A. There's 1 or 2 B, 1 C, I think few C, but a lot more mixed answers. Over to you, Pragyan. Can you explain the answer and then give the answer and explain as well?
Sure thing. So now at this point, when you will go to this terminology, the correct answer here is going to be your scalability. We do have the or you can simply say like these are the correct answer is initially the A, the fault tolerance. Now, this concept of fault tolerances is all about achieving the high availability on the cloud. We do have options B and C. They are incorrect because they refer to how best you can scale up or down the based on demand. And D is also incorrect because it refers to the data transfer. Low latency is a concept of data transfer, but in case of your fault tolerance, right, it is used for the high availability where you are actually working with more than one systems which are residing on two different locations and they all are synced with each other. So suppose in that case one machine goes down by any means, right, the another machine will work on behalf of that as well. And that's how the fault tolerance is considered to be the correct answer for this question.
Brilliant. Okay. Now, like those who are members, those are part of guys, those who are part of AZ-104 other programs, or those who are part of Azure Fundamentals. Some of you guys are a part of my membership academy or members academy. So can you go back to the screen? There'll be more questions like that on each topic going to be. So there are 100+ exam questions. You can go and look at those deeper. This is just to give a glimpse of what kind of questions you're going to get as well. So practice more and more of those. Let me take 1 or 2 more questions from here, and then we'll move on this point. I think I've answered some of the questions. There is one question coming from Shruti saying membership academy means Azure community group. So we have 2 groups. Shruti, there's a free group we are, and there's a paid program members, which probably might come. I'll talk about that maybe on a day 2 or day 3, or keep an eye on inbox for that. How to become a Shweta is saying how to become a member of K21 Academy. We'll keep an eye on email, and we'll talk about maybe on day 2 on that. Get a value first here. Okay, let's move on to the next part. So guys who are looking for how to become a member, we'll talk about that later. Yep, let's move on. Those who are not yet member, those not member. Okay, so again, as I said, yeah, I think let's move on. I've already picked up some of the questions.
Now, the next important factor that I'm going to discuss with you, that is actually going to give you a broader picture about your this cloud approaches, cloud services model. What are the different type of models we have? So when you are going to work with your cloud services model, right, we have different model available there, right? And these models are categorized as traditional on-premises. That's the first type of model you can find out. In this particular model, the user or the client, he is the one who is managing everything. So in simple words, you can say the on-premises, the local machine that you are using in your office or maybe at your workplace is what basically we have the traditional on-premises. Then we have an infrastructure as a services where you are actually going to start working with your virtual machines. You don't even require to like purchase any hardware, and then you can directly provision your compute resources on the Azure cloud. But here, if you can see, it is basically divided in 2 approaches. The first approach we can have, we call them the applications, data, runtime, middleware, and OS. Till that part, client is the one who is going to decide everything. But the virtualization, the servers, storage, networking, all these things is initially be monitored by your service provider. So in our case, it will be Microsoft. So Microsoft taking care of your virtualization, server, storage, and networking part. And then we do have a PaaS. So some of the better example of infrastructure, as I have told you, the virtual machine is the good example for a infrastructure as a service. On the other side, I do have the platform as a service. Platform as a service is initially be used when you want to work with applications specifically, only application, no servers, no servers, no virtual machines, nothing. I'm talking about just simple applications here. So here applications, in application, client manages the application and the data, and from runtime to networking, everything is managed by the service provider. So the example of platform as a service is like Azure SQL databases, Azure Cosmos DB, Azure SQL data warehouse, Azure storage account. They all are the example of your platform as a service. Azure managed instance, they all are the example of your platform as a service. And then finally, we do have the software as a service. Now, there may be a question in your mind that when everything is managed by the service provider, then what we generally do? We are actually the functional user. We are the functional users. We actually use the environment to fulfill our task. The example of a software as a service is there, where because it's a place where you will only going to work as an functional or as an end user, you will be able to work on it. And the example is like Office 365 and Dynamics 365 Finance and Operation is also one of the good examples for the software as a service. So these are the different type of cloud services model that you will be able to find out while working with your cloud implementation. So this is the traditional approaches between IaaS and PaaS, IaaS and PaaS. That is a traditional web hosting where we do have server, we do have OS, we have IaaS installed over there. And then here we are just hosting my web app. On the other side, here we do have the hosting like web apps as well. So I can have the mobile apps. We do have the API apps, web apps, and then function apps. These are the different categories of the apps which we will be able to use for like working with, again, my hosting resources and hosting services. And here, the most important factor you can find out, we call them the Azure Service Fabric. So what is this Azure Service Fabric initially? When I talk about an Azure Service Fabric, an Azure Service Fabric is basically a distributed system platform that makes it easy to package, to deploy, and manage the scalable and reliable microservices and containers. It is also addresses the significant challenges in developing and managing the cloud native application. Then, as you can see, here again the hosting is there, but this is going to be a middleware or acting like a bridge to connect with all these different type of applications as well on the cloud app approach as well. So this is basically the example of IaaS and PaaS. These are another options you can find out when you will go for the SQL Server on virtual machine. That's a part of IaaS because we are using the virtual machine at this point of time. On the other side, we do have the managed instance, an Azure SQL database. Okay, here we are not creating any virtual machine or another thing. We are directly creating our service, and these service are going to be used as a part of your project. So that is basically known as your platform as a service. So moving further, this is the SaaS, as I have already given you the example of Office 365, or you can go for Dynamics 365 Finance and Operations, Dynamics CRM, 365 CRM. They all are the different examples you will be able to find out when you are working with your SaaS, software as a service. This is what we can call the shared responsibility model. That's the same thing that we are discussing previously as well. So within the shared responsibility model, we always talk about that what is shared with the team and what we need to take care, or what a user or an end user need to take care. Well, the explanation has already been given to you that whenever you are going to work with a simple on-premises, the user is the one who is going to take care, or the customer is one who is going to work with everything. Here you can see that. For the IaaS, from information and data to device to account to directory infrastructure, applications, network, and OS, all these areas will be managed by the customer. Remaining three areas, physical host, network, and data center, the cloud provider will take care of that. Proceeding with that, when you will go with the PaaS, for the PaaS, up till accounts and identities, customer will manage. Then identity and directory structure is basically shared between the service provider and the customer as well. Application will be shared between this service provider and the customer, and then network controls is again shared between the service provider and the customer. And then from OS to physical data center, the cloud provider will take care of everything. And finally, we do have the software as a service. So for information and data, if you want to pull the information, you want to read the information, you want to work with your devices, or you want to access it via devices using mobile phones or mobile phones and PCs, or account and identities, you will use the SaaS here. Then the identity and directory infrastructure is initially be managed by in a shared approach. And from applications till physical data center, everything is going to be taken care by the responsibility model, or you can say the service provider or the cloud provider actually. And wherever you can see the sharing here, they both are going to work with, like, just an example only. If you will go for identity and directory infrastructure. So in identity and directory infrastructure, initially, suppose when you create the logins, you create your own custom logins as well, or you create your own custom users. And we also have some system users. Those system users which are already, or predefined users which are already there, can be managed by the cloud providers because they are the one who prepared it for us. On the other side, the user defined resources or the logins and the password that you are using, they will be taken care by the customer again. So this is basically a shared responsibility model. So we have another question here. You are trying to understand the different cloud models. Which of the following are advantages of using the public cloud? Choose two answers from the options given below. So think about it.
Yeah, put it in the chat window while I'll take one question which is coming, if that's okay. So, okay, I think, thanks for answering. I think Subandhu has all being answered. The question was, what are the shared responsibilities? Can you provide some example for platform as a service or software as a service? So take an example of platform as a service, Subandhu. You have a Azure SQL database that you can run in a platform as a service. If you're running Azure SQL Server database can be run in either a platform as a service or infrastructure service. There are two different services of SQL Server. So if you're doing it on a SQL in an infrastructure service, that means you're creating a virtual machine, and after that you're installing a SQL database on your own, or whatever virtual machine you're creating and installing on your own. You have to take care of the operating system. You have to take care of the SQL database underlying basically the operating system. Whereas if you're running SQL Server in a platform as a service, Microsoft will take care of that operating system. You don't need to worry about the patching or security upgrade of that operating system. I hope that makes sense. Okay, so these questions, they're coming a lot of A and C, but there are B and C. Some of one or two guys are B and C, A and B, A and C, but a lot more O and C. A and C, great. Correct. Let's see. There are a few more questions are coming, guys. Get engaged, and even if you get it wrong, don't worry. The whole point is about when I started, I knew nothing. In fact, I used to be so confused with these scalability, elasticity, resilience, CapEx, OpEx. I had no clue when I started, and now. So don't worry if you don't get it. Just the objective is that you will learn and you'll become better. Over to you. Let's get back the answers again.
So the correct answer is A and C for us: low capital cost and high reliability, because this is the advantage for using the public cloud. And it is already the, you can say, proof point is your Microsoft documentation. And as it is already mentioned this, and at the time of, or when we have started understanding the different models, we have already discussed about, or at the beginning of the session, we talked about that what they generally help us. They help us with high availability, the reliability part, and then low capital cost. Why? Because you don't need to purchase any external resources and the machines or anything, right? So there is a link which has already been mentioned here, which you will be able to use for getting more to it. And I believe you will get almost all these resources available in our portal as well.
Just one thing I would say, because I saw like at around 20 or 30% have given B, and they think that cloud is higher maintenance, which is not correct. Cloud is low maintenance. I don't need to worry about, like, imagine, because I run data centers, because prior to that, prior to K21Academy, I was running a consulting company. I was owning a consulting company, K21 Technologies, and we were customers, we were managing, it was nightmare managing servers, not only the physical data center, the servers inside that, the electricity, cooling. I need to worry about servers being hacked, a lot more maintenance issues compared to now. I don't need to worry about on cloud. So cloud has lower maintenance. It has capital expenses are also lower. So A is correct. High reliability, yes, absolutely high reliability, which I can rely on. Microsoft provides a lot of high availability, reliability. I can rely on Microsoft. Okay, because compared to my own, me managing my own infrastructure is much more complex than someone else's. Microsoft is managing for me. Yeah, over to you. Let's move on, Pragyan. Anything you want to add? But you're doing brilliant, guys. Just one. I'm unable to answer. Isn't it? No. You, Julian, I can see your answer. You put it here. We can see. I have hundreds of answers here. So very high security. We'll come to that point as well. So is it all making sense? Just while probably we have 1 hour we have done. How are we doing? Is it all making sense? Are you enjoying? Look at it. It's enjoying. Let's move on. Pragyan, over to you. Let's continue from here.
Thank you. All right. So this is another sample quick questions. I think that is
we can
all
skip
about.
that. Yeah, we can. This is okay. This is more about for portal. Why it's how does it look like on the portal? Yeah. Over to you. Sorry, Pragyan.
So moving towards the next step, right? Which of the following is the responsibility of the customer? Maintaining the underlying physical servers, security of data hosted on Azure Virtual Machine, uptime of the virtual machine services, or cooling in the data center. So what do you think will be the responsibility of a customer? Let's see.
Kunal says C, and Kunal, let me know why uptime of the virtual machine servers is, so if virtual machine is up or not. So I can see a lot of B, 1 or 2 C.
Okay. So shall I show the
if you
answer?
can just explain why C is not the answer, that will be good, because I think a lot of guys are B, but there's 1 or 2 C. So if you explain,
okay.
B or
So
C.
first of all, the answer for this is about B, security of data hosted on Azure Virtual Machines. Reason being is that because as far as the security is a concern, whenever you create your virtual machines, while creating your virtual machines, you actually need to provide the authentication and authorizations approaches, where you need to give your own permissions, you need to give your own permissions to them, so that not anybody or not anyone will be able to get access to those resources. And then only the way to access the resources unless the administrator or maybe the user who has developed this machines or who have provisioned this machine, they have not given them or they have not given them the permissions to access any specific resources. That's definitely be the most important approach you can find out here. So the idea is that if I talk about maintaining the underlying physical servers, maintaining the underlying physical server is not the responsibility of a client or you can say a customer. Why? Because you have to only provision the servers. That's all you did. But after that, Microsoft will take the responsibility for that because you are hosted it on their data centers and they need to manage their data centers. Why the uptime of the virtual machine service is not a part of your customer? The big reason for that is that uptime will be managed by using your, again, with your services or the servers, or you can say the distribution. So whenever you provision a virtual machine, maybe it also automatically have a concept of your paired region approach, where they always have a pair of that machine as an you can say as an synced machine, which is always be used for the purpose of working with my resources, and they are synced together. And uptime, because at the time of getting the SLA, that is, there is a concept known as service level agreement. So here, Microsoft or the service provider gives us the guarantee for that if we are provisioning a service for one single region, the availability is going to be 99.99%. And if I'm getting or if I'm using an availability for a multiple region, or I'm using it for the multiple region, it is 99.999%. And that's why you don't need to worry about the uptime of the virtual machine service, because it is again a part of your data center upgradations and so on. Cooling in the data center, why you do it? You are just provisioning it. You are just using their infra. The only thing which is handled by the, but Microsoft have their own data center where they need to manage this physical resources and physical hardwares and everything. So I hope this makes sense and this gives the answer.
Brilliant. Yes, indeed. Yeah.
Okay. So moving to the next part.
Oh, sorry, Pragyan. Yeah, I missed your question earlier saying, do we cover just module 1 today? No, I think my objective is if we can cover some part of module 2, if we can. If it's not, we can't, but then it's fine. I don't want to rush. At the same time, I want to balance it out as well, because I've given around 8 hours, I said objectively, for Azure Fundamental, and maybe people should be able to clear the certification within a week. That's what we tell to our members, and within 10 days, people, a lot of our guys or students clear the certification. So go with that intention. No need to rush. We can give more time as well if required. Okay. But if we can do till maybe creating a virtual machine or showing them the portal, and they should be able to create Azure account, that will be good if we can reach to that point.
That is part of module 2, yes.
Yes, yeah. Okay. Over to you. Thanks, guys. Some of you guys are reaching some hitting problem. Let's continue here. Over to you, Pragyan.
Now, the next thing is about what are the deployment models that we have. So initially, when we say the deployment model, we have 3 types of deployment models you can find out here. The first type of deployment model, we call them the public cloud. Public cloud is initially owned by the cloud services providers, also known as hosting providers, and it provides resources and services to multiple organizations and users who connect to the cloud service via a secure network connection, typically over the internet. So right now, when we will go to the Azure portal, in the Azure portal, we can easily be able to access our public cloud approaches, and we will be able to use our public cloud over there when we are using the Azure resources or Azure services or Azure server. If we are using that, it is initially the public model cloud have some characteristics like the ownership. This is the resources that an organization or end user uses. So some of the example, like we have storage and processing power, and resources do not belong to the organization that is utilizing them, but rather they are owned and operated by a third party, like a cloud service provider. Then multiple end users are there. Public cloud modes may take or may make their resources available to multiple organizations. Okay, moving towards that, they do have the public access, which provide access to the public. Availability is the most common. So this is the most common cloud type deployment model we generally use. As far as the connectivity is there, users and organizations are connected to the public cloud over the internet using a web browser. And then we have skills available, which goes with your public cloud that do not require deep technical knowledge to set up and use its resources here. So that's the public cloud we have. On the other side, when you will go with a private cloud is initially be owned and operated by the organization that uses the resources from that cloud. For example, for every particular organization, you have your own domain server where all the internal information is initially be stored. So here the private cloud providers create a cloud environment on their own data center and provide a self-service access to compute resources to users within their organization. And the organizations remains the owner, entirely responsible for the operation of the services they provide. So as far as the private cloud is the concern, so characteristics are like the ownership or the owner and the user of the cloud services are always the same. As far as the hardware is the concern, the owner is entirely responsible for the purchase, maintenance, and management of the cloud hardware. Moving towards the users, so a private cloud operates only within one organization, and cloud computing resources are used exclusively by a single business or organization as well. As far as the connectivity is the concern, so a connection to a private cloud is typically made over a private network that is highly secure. And then we do have the public access. No, it does not provide the public access, and skills requires a deep technical knowledge to set up, manage, and maintain. That's your private cloud. On the other side, I have the third member of the family. We call them the hybrid cloud, which combines both public and private clouds, which allows you to run your application in the most appropriate location. So here, the first thing is the characteristics includes like resource location. So specific resources run or are used in a public cloud, and others run or are used in a private cloud as well. So we may have some information which is critical for the organization. We will keep it to the private cloud, and those information which can easily be shared with the customers or with the clients and so on, we can put it into the public cloud. As far as the cost and efficiency is the concern, hybrid cloud models allow an organizations to leverage some of the benefits of cost, efficiency, and scale that are available with the public cloud model. And then, as far as the control is the concern for the hybrid cloud, organizations retain management control in private clouds, and they also or technical skills are still required to maintain private cloud and ensure both cloud models can operate together. That's basically what we can call our hybrid cloud. So I hope this gives you the clear picture of that what is these three type of clouds we have. So this is the example of a hybrid cloud in Azure, where I have an Azure Stack Hub, which is an extension of Azure, which provides a way to run apps in an on-premises environment and deliver services in your data center. And with a consistent cloud platform, organizations can confidently make technology decisions, which is based on the requirements. You can see just right here, this is your on-premises, a Stack Hub is there, a Windows server with Azure backup servers are there. Here we do have the routing and then directories through which we will be able to getting connected, and we will keep pulling the data, keep accessing the data, and keep reading the data as well. And with a consistent cloud platform, organizations can confidently make technology decisions which is based on business requirements rather than business decisions based on the technology limitations as well. So here we are not focusing on the limitation here. We are simply moving towards the approaches or the features, or you can say the resources which can be used. Like we do have the Azure regions, we have the recovery services vault. So in case if you may have lost your infra or you want to restore it, you can recover it as well. We do have the storage location for storing. Initially for the virtual machines that you generally create, or maybe the hybrid cloud, if you are provisioning any machines or maybe resources there, the storage, Azure Storage is always be considered as a main location where all this information initially be stored. And then we can use the concept of Azure import and export as well. We can use express routing to route via networks and via network, and then we will be able to get access between on-prem and on-cloud approaches. So this is basically an example of your hybrid cloud to Azure.
One question comes, and I had this question as well when I started. If you go back to a previous slide, sorry to interrupt again. Please. Someone was saying, oh, no, the next one. I hope the next slide explains this, but I want to cover this. I forgot a name. Ajay was saying, is private cloud same as an on-premise concepts? So slightly different, Ajay. So if you look at Microsoft will ship their entire cloud hardware in terms of virtual machines, network, databases, all the infrastructure to customer premises on a rent basis. So there might be 2 years, 4 years, 6 years renting. And then with all the cloud, the way you do in cloud as well, same thing, you have cloud, you're provisioning, using, etc. And that's what you see here on left-hand side, that you see Azure Stack Hub, which is customers or Microsoft shipping their entire devices, hardware, etc. that you use like cloud. I hope that makes sense. Now, there are some topics, other follow-up questions are coming, like express route and other things. We are going to cover that probably in day 2 or day 3. When we cover networking, we are going to talk about VPN gateway, express route, and a virtual network as well. How do you connect then your on-premise with cloud, etc. as well. Good job on, let's move on, Pragyan, for.
Okay, sure. This is for the AWS architecture. So this is the AWS
let
cloud.
me add it here if you're not, so we have a lot of students from AWS as well, so we added. So if you're coming from the way you have a fast connect in, not fast connect is Oracle concept. Express route is a networking connectivity between on-premise and cloud on Azure. In AWS, you have direct connect like that, which is on-premise with cloud. If you can move on to the next part.
Yeah, sure.
Next slide, sorry. And similarly, this is Oracle Cloud, where you have a clouded customer. So left-hand side, you see customer. Oracle will ship their entire cloud machine like that. It's applicable for all the cloud vendors. Now, cloud vendors, they do more or less same thing. Oracle will ship their Exadatas, cloud or other things, and then they will connect with on-premise using something called as Fast Connect. Go to the next slide. Same concept is on the Google Cloud as well. If you go to the next slide. Google Cloud, the same hybrid cloud concept. Those who are from a Google Cloud background or who are using or coming for our Google Cloud training programs. Let's move on to the next one, please.
Sure thing. So, quick question here. A company wants to start using Microsoft Azure. They currently also have a private cloud setup. Would it be required for them to migrate their entire private cloud model to achieve a hybrid cloud model? So what do you think? What is your thought process on that, guys?
Wow, I got it wrong myself, but a lot of guys are getting right. Wow. So, Pragyan, your teaching is definitely working. When I got it first time, I got it wrong. I'm talking about my things are memories 6 years back or 7 years, 8 years back.
Right.
You, Pragyan.
Sure thing, sir. So the correct answer here for this is it is yes. No, sorry. The answer when you will just go with this sort of approach. Okay, initially the answer that you can find, it is actually a no. Initially, it is
no.
a
If
no.
you go, it should be no. If you go down, or is it not? The answer is no only. Yeah. No,
Yeah,
maybe.
it's no. Reason for that
yeah.
is because here what we are talking about a private model and a public model. Well, despite of if I'm using a hybrid cloud model, at the end what you are doing, as far as if you have heard about and when we were discussing the private model, so it is initially be designed or it is initially be created on the company's local data center, and the same thing applies over here as well. So currently they already have a private cloud setup, so they don't need to migrate or their entire private cloud model to achieve a hybrid cloud model. They can simply be able to use the same data center for the private cloud, and then use the same data center with different permissions for the public cloud as well. So the answer for this is no initially. So it's not required to transfer it or migrate it over there. I hope this makes sense.
Yep. Great. Thanks. Let's move on to the next one. Great. Yeah.
All right. Now,
Krishna is saying great chance to learn. Thank you very much, Krishna. Keep sending these over to you. Next one now, Pragyan.
So this is your Azure architecture and service. Okay, and that's where we are going to talk about and see how to design our own customized virtual machines and everything. So now here, Azure architecture and services, which is the another part. So here we are talking about the Azure services landscape, the global infra, the resource group, management groups, subscriptions in Azure, management tools, portal, cloud shell, CLI, ARM templates, and then we have the compute services. What all are the different compute services are there? This is what we will be covering here. And then there is few more things which is going to be there. This is the Azure services landscape that you can find out. It is basically different type of platform services you will be able to find out. On the left side, I have this security and management area where I will be able to provide this security and management for the portal, for the Active Directory, for multi-factor authentication, for automation, Key Vault, Store Marketplace, and then image gallery and report. On the right side, we have hybrid operations like AD Connect and AD Privileged, backup, operational insights, import, export, site recovery. And these all are compute resources, web and mobile resources, developer resources, data, analytics and IoTs, integration, media and CDN. As you can see, there is a quite big area where we will be able to get almost every particular feature which we are looking for, every particular service that we are looking for. So in the compute, you can also be work with virtual machines. We can have containers as well. That's basically the next option that we will be following. We can have the storage, where I can go with different type of storage like a blob storage, Azure Files, premium storage. These all are the examples of that as well. Plus, if I will move to the next option here, I can have the networking, which is another feature you will be able to find out when you are going to work with your data resources. Okay, so now this is basically a quick area where you will be able to monitor, you will be able to check for your processes, and then everything is available on a everything is available on your single location. This is the data center, or you can say this is the infrastructure that we will be using. Okay, and then with this part, this is the initial landscape part you can find out here. Okay, moving to the next part, you can find out we have the global infrastructure. So
if you go, is it okay again if I add few things here, because this slide is very important for everyone, and especially for others who are who wants to go to the next level, this is where you need to be learning. So if you look at the bottom, this is where the global infrastructure, which is your data center. So there might be different, and we'll see that as we move forward. There are different countries. So there might be US, within US West, North, South, East. You have Europe, you have UK, you have India, you have Singapore, you have Middle East, and different regions. So the underlying each of these regions, there are 24 regions, geographical locations. And then you have within that you have different data centers. And on the data centers, you have something called, as we will see that as we go, availability zone. And within that availability zone, there is a fault domain and update domain and so on. Now, all these infrastructure or data centers will have the 3 core services. If you're going for Azure administration, solution architect, whether data or DevOps, everything, you need to have the good knowledge of the 3 core services, which is compute, which you see we'll cover that today, if time permits. Otherwise, we'll do day 2, day 3. Storage, we'll do different type of storage. The networking, different type of networking connectivity that you need. These are basic, everyone should know in my view, if they're going for technical background, if they're going for technical knowledge or technical domain. Then on top of that, you have other services which are built on left-hand side, you see security and management. On top, you see platform services like compute. We'll see that on some of those integrations, IoTs, data, hybrid, etc. as well. Yep. Over to you, Pragyan. Sorry to bother you on that. I thought probably I wanted to go a little bit more emphasis because this is crux of entire cloud that they will be covering over the next 2, 3, 4 days. Over to you, Pragyan.
Sure thing. So now moving to the next part, we do have the global infrastructure. So in the global infrastructure, this is the Azure global infrastructure. And as you can see right now, we have geographies are there. So these are the geographies. We will be able to work with multiple regions. Okay, we will be able to work with multiple regions which are there. I have multiple regions inside that. So with this region, I have region 1, I have region 2, region 3. These are the different regions you can find. And they all have the concept of availability zone. Initially, there are 3 type of AZs or zones are there. We call them zone 1, zone 2, and zone 3. We have only 3 availability zone. And availability zone is a collection of multiple data centers, you can say, which we will be able to use for the purpose of storing the data. And then with the help of this availability zone, you will be able to also replicate your resources. You will be able to replicate your resources onto multiple locations. And you can also be able to follow the approach of proceeding towards your, you can say, the high availability or maybe the fault tolerance and so on. And then these are the domains, different domains which are already there, which you can be able to check when you are working with this sort of resources here. So now this is just another approach. And then this is just a quick infrastructure approach. So this is geography. We have India, AUS, NEU, SEA. They all geography consists of regions. One region can have 3 zones, zone 1, zone 2, zone 3. And then every zone have the data centers. Multiple data centers can be there. Okay. And then by using this, you will be able to get the other resources which are required to be checked. But this is the initial structure for the global infrastructure.
Thanks, Pragyan. If you give me, is it okay if I give 1 minute and then I explain, actually show it to the portal, how does it look like? And people should be able to see that and correlate with this diagram, if that's okay with you, Pragyan. Yeah?
Sure.
I'm going to make myself presenter for a minute. And guys, this is, sometime you might, unless you see it, I usually learn it by when I actually see it. So I'm going to show it to you. How does it look like? And then again, Pragyan will also cover that. Show my screen. So I hope you can see my screen, right? So what I've done is, this is Azure portal, which you should all have access. If not, check your email today, later today or tomorrow. Probably next 24 hours, you'll get an email with an instruction on how to create this free cloud account. So you can see like that what I'm doing. So on that here, I came here and I said virtual machine, and that is applicable for virtual machine was one infrastructure. You can have like databases and other things as well. So I'm creating a virtual machine. When I came to this virtual machine, I'm creating that virtual machine and say create. That time I dictate in which geography I create, which means where I create this resource. So if I'm to look at region, these are the different regions which Pragyan was showing the screen. So you have US, different within US East, West, Europe, and so on. So this is so I select for example, I'm based in London, so I say UK South. I select that. Now within that, I'm going to give into a availability options, which is availability zone, which means my data center. Now in South, in London, there are 2 data centers, which is geographically nearby. So that will dictate my availability zone. There's a concept of availability set and scale set. We don't want to cover it today. We might skip that because it's a little bit more advanced topic. We might cover it in Azure administration or Azure solution architect, but this is just to give a glimpse of you can do for high availability on that. And then when you select a machine, automatically Microsoft will put them into one of the fault domain, which is nothing but a server physical rack inside that I can't show it to you right now here. But you can select all those options based on what you're going to see it here. So that's just to give a glimpse of giving you the background about what these reasons mean. Over to you, Pragyan.
Thank you.
And Pragyan, if you think that some topic is a little bit more advanced for students like right now today, we might cover it in day 2 or day 3. So feel free to skip, then come back again once we have given a little bit more background around that. So you play with what you think you feel comfortable or you think people will learn better on. Over to you. I'm making a presenter again.
Sure thing. Okay. So let me first show you my screen here. I'm just about to.
Yeah, I can see your screen. And while we are covering one point, so at the bottom of each screen now going forward, there'll be more documentation. You can check out our blog, K21Academy.com / for example, footer AZ-900 There you want to know more about these concepts. We are going to go and we want to read more and supporting documents. Over to you, Pragyan.
Okay, then. So now, the next thing you can find out here is about the region. These are the different regions we have already talked about. Okay. These are the regional pairs. Just to understand regional pair, there is only one thing you need to understand. Every particular region that we will be using here, they have their own pairing. They have their own pairing. We actually, if I will take you to this part and you will just go to Google, you will find out, you can say Azure paired region. So in the Azure paired region, what you will be able to find out when you will go inside this, they actually follow a list of different regions which are there. These are the regional pairs. For every particular geography, they do have a regional pair. We are considered as in regional pair A, regional pair B. Now, for example, if we will talk about, say, UK, so in UK, we have UK West and UK South. We'll go to the US. For the US, we do have the, and then you can see we have multiple US. So let's go to the North America. So in North America, we have East US to West US, East US to Central US. These all are the different pairs. The benefit of having a pair is that, suppose if you want to, or if you are provisioning a resource for multiple region, while provisioning that resource for multiple region, or while accessing those resource for multiple region, you will easily be able to make a copy of it inside this other paired region as well. You don't even need to manually mention that make a copy of the resource. It will automatically going to get it done for you. And you will not be able to make any changes to these regions. These are fixed. Very soon they are going to add few more regions as well. That's how this actually paired region works. So whenever we prepare any resources, and if we are preparing it for multiple regions, like Cosmos DB is one of the good example for that, it automatically creates itself on 2 different places. The first place will be the core area, which you have selected at the time of provisioning it. And the second one we will be going to use for the like paired region as well, or for the copy of that information. Plus, this is the paired region. This is what I have just shown you a few seconds before. Okay. These are the availability zones initially. So as I have told you that we have 3 types of zones that you can find out. We use them, or we call them as an availability zone. So 3 types of zones are there. We call them zone 1, zone 2, zone 3. And every particular zone actually using, or they are using their own individual architecture, you can say. They are using their own individual country locations as well. Okay, so these are basically another important factors that you all must know about. An availability zone, these are basically physical separate locations within an Azure region that is used for availability sets to provide additional fault tolerance as well. So some of the feature you can find out about these zones are that each availability zone is an isolation boundary containing one or more data centers equipped with the independent power, cooling, and networking. And if one availability zone goes down, the other continues working. So anyhow, you are not going to lose your data. You are not going to lose your resources. And they are connected to each other through very fast private fiber optic networks. And these allow customers to run mission critical applications with high availability and low latency application as well. Then on the other side, we also have the first most important factor here, which is also known as your update and fault tolerant approaches, which is there, where we have these update domains and then fault domains. Two type of domains you can find out, and this is again used for the purpose of, or they are actually part of your availability sets, where availability sets are a way for you to ensure your application remains online if a high impact maintenance event is required, or a failure occurs as well. And they are made up of this update domain and then fault domain as well, where update domain is all about used to perform incremental upgrades. Incremental means you already have an infrastructure created, or you already have resources created. You are just upgrading it with latest entries, you can say, with new updated entries, updated values. While fault domains provide the group of virtual machines which share a common set of hardware switches that share single point of failure. So in this availability set are placed at least 2 fault domains. This is which is required. And fault domains provide for the physical separation of your workload across different hardware in the data center, which includes power, cooling, and network hardware that supports the physical servers located in these server racks as well. So this is the update and fault domain. Then, apart from that, these are some sovereign regions, US government services.
Oh, sorry to interrupt again. If you go to the previous slide here, sorry to interrupt again. Now, I'll give a pro tip here. Now here, when I initially understood update domain and fault domain, I found it very, very complicated. Or not complicated, but I didn't understand them. That's why if you look at our the footer, I created some videos in the past. It will be worth checking after this class. Go to K21Academy.com/AZ-10414. Can you quickly go there and see if the URL is correct? Just wanted to see there is 2 videos on update domain and fault domain. I think we did availability set and skill set as well, or maybe on these.
Okay,
it's okay. Otherwise, if I'll cover that. Put it into email. Let's carry on.
No issues. Actually, I may need to access the same from the.
Don't worry. Let's continue, Ferris. Sorry to interrupt you again. Let's continue from. I think you were going on the flow. Sorry to interrupt that flow. Over to you.
Sure, no problem. Okay, then these are some sovereign regions. Actually, US government services have their own individual. You can also call it. They have their own cloud infrastructure. That's why we also call them as an cloud government. So they are the government clouds initially, which are initially designed for these 2 specific countries, which is there. So they have their own, they are actually, this is related to your defense and then your FBIs and all those organizations which are there in their country for the government services. So here we do have, and as we have already talked about that, okay, sorry. You will be able to find out few more questions gradually on our portal here. Like in the portal, when you will go for that, you will just give a look and check that, and you will get more questions which may be required for you to understand this whole sort of resources. So we will cover that part. Now, the another important factor you can find out, we call them the Azure resources. These are the different type of resources you will be able to use when you are going to work with your Azure. So it is a combination of multiple services, like we can have the concept here for the virtual machines, storage accounts, virtual networks, app services, SQL databases, and then functions. These are 6 different types of Azure resources you will be able to use. Virtual machines are for the machine infrastructure, storage account for storing the information, which will be either in a structured format, unstructured format, or semi-structured format. Virtual networks are very popularly used for the network implementation if you want to work with the network implementation, or you want to use the virtual networks as well. App services for the application services. If you want to store your data in a relational model or in a relational approach, you can use Azure SQL databases, and functions are also there, which is used for the transformation purpose. If you want to make any modifications and any changes to your data, you will be able to go for it. Moving to that, the first most important pointer we required here, we call them the resource groups. Resource groups are the first most important factor that you need whenever you are going to work with your Azure resources, because whatever resources you will be going to design, whatever resources you are actually going to design, all these resources are initially be stored inside a resource group. So just to go quickly with that, just one thing I would like to show you, that how initially a resource group look like. So that's my portal. So welcome to the portal. This is my portal, and I have already logged in with my login ID. Okay, and here that's my Azure portal where I have multiple services. On the other side, if you can just go there and click on the home page maybe, or a dashboard, or all services, these all are the different type of services, and these are some favorites which are already there. You can click on this all services, it will take you to the marketplaces. This is what we call the Azure marketplace, from where you will be able to access some of the resources here. And one of this resource, we call them the resource group. A resource group is initially be used, the resource group is initially be used for the purpose of storing the resources. You just need to click on it, and then it will show you a page like this where you will be able to create your resources. You need to hit this create resource group button. I'm so sorry. I'm using a subscription here. We call them the past sponsorship subscription. And the resource group I'm going to create is AZ-900 RG. That's my resource group, which I would like to use. This is the region. You have multiple regions where you would like to store your data. This is actually the data center, you can say that, where I'm storing this. Then we have this tags. Tags plays a very important role. Suppose if you want to do the labeling. So I said this is from AZ-900 RG, and it's my master resource group. This is what I have mentioned for this. And then you need to click on next. It will check for the validation, and once it is done, click create. It will take maybe few seconds, not seconds, but maybe some few milliseconds sometimes, and then it is actually going to create a resource group. When you go to this resource group, you will find an empty area, empty canvas, and that's the place where we are going to create our further resources. So before moving to that, let me talk about the next option which is there. So the next thing is about subscription. We have different type of subscription models which are available to us when we are working with your Azure resources. In the Azure resources, we have different type of subscription model I can use. So the subscription models are initially be used for the purpose of giving you the authenticity to design and develop your resources. So we do have the development subscription, test subscription is also there. We do have the production subscription. So different type of subscription approaches you will be able to find when you are going to work with your Azure resources, or maybe with your Azure implementation. And these subscriptions are initially be added to your Azure account. Recently, now Microsoft has launched, there is something known as Cloud Slice subscription, where you all will be able to use that Cloud Slice subscription without, you will be able to use a Cloud Slice subscription without paying anything, and you will be initially use it for the practice purpose. If you just want to design your resources, you want to develop your resources, and after designing and developing your resources, you would like to utilize those resources. So of course you are good to go with the concept of your subscriptions here. And these subscriptions are initially, you can say they are initially be charged as well, right? We need to pay something for that initially when you will go with your subscriptions approach, or you will go for the subscriptions like this. So subscription are required for you to design and develop the resources on your Azure, or on your Azure page, or on your Azure platform. If you want to work with, the subscriptions will be the first and the most important factor you will be able to design. We also have a free subscription available, which will be valid for or available for, you can say, they will give you 200 USDs, and they will also going to give you 30 days validity when your subscription, the 200 USD sponsorship that these guys are providing will be shared with you initially. So there you have different ways to prepare and then create your Azure resources, and you have already seen, or we have already shared, that how you will be able to create your own customized resources as well. So these are some resources that you will be able to find out in your application, and you will be able to use those resources for your work purpose. So moving to that part, we have different type of tools also, which we can again be able to use for presenting my resources.
Again, I need to finish at a logical point. Yeah, maybe do the management tools, and then because I think we're on top of hour, we'll give him. I'll need 5 minutes to do. Yeah, over to you. Yeah, we are on top of hour. Yeah, thanks.
Right. So you can have, or you can use this Azure portal. It's the same that I have shared with you, or that I have shown to you. This is my Azure portal with one resource already available with me. Okay. Then we do have the Cloud Shell. Cloud Shell is just another tool. It is available inside your subscription. It's on the top. From here, you will be able to get your Cloud Shell ready either on a Bash shell or in PowerShell. So if you know any of these commanding or script commands, you are good to go with that. This is the CLI, command line integration.
Yeah, sorry. I didn't mean. I didn't mean to rush or something. And I know you're pretty brilliant. So if you go, just wanted to give a tip on Cloud Shell. In future, there'll be some. We are going to do 1 or 2 labs around Cloud Shell, where we're going to provision some resources on using a Cloud Shell or a CLI. You can use some of those as well, part of there as well. Yep.
They are mostly be used in our AZ-204 initially. They'll be used thoroughly in data platforms.
Yeah, and AZ-400 as well. And I think those are part of Azure administration, Azure solution architect, Azure DevOps as well. There are extensive hands-on labs. Those who are part of those programs. So that will be coming as well more. Yep, over to you.
So yeah, so here I was talking about the shell. So you do have Bash shell and PowerShell. It will automatically create the subscription and storage for you. So meanwhile it is going on, let me talk further. Okay. Then on the other side, I can simply go and check for the CLI. This is my CLI. So you can use a Bash shell or a PowerShell. Any of these shells can be used. This is the environment of your PowerShell. Okay. ARM templates. ARM templates are initially be used whenever you, suppose you have already created a resource and you want to use, or you want to create a similar resource as well. So you will easily be able to do it by using the ARM template. And this is initially when you will go to your services infra, or maybe you will go to your all resources initially. In the all resources, even though if I will go to my like resource group, whatever resource group that I will be using there, in the resource group also, when you will just maybe expand it a bit, okay, and when you will scroll down, you will find an option for export template. This is an option for export template, and this template will give you the ARM template. This is the generating template, and this is the ARM template that they have given, which you will be able to download and you can use it for your work as well. So same way with this Cloud Shell, I already have a cloud storage. They do have the template, and you can see they are automatically generating the code, and we will be able to copy these codes, or we will be able to download this files, which consist of 2 files here, parameters file and template file. You will be able to use it. This is what ARM template gives you when you are working with this resources. And then here you have the PowerShell, right? So if you will just go and type get-az subscription. So this will give me the details of my subscription, which I'm using right now. So currently I'm using a past sponsorship, and you will be able to type your command both in PowerShell and in Bash shell as well. So you can use any of these shells as well. Moving to the next part as well. Let me take you through it. So the next important factor, you can have this ARM template and so on. So let's have this question. We have an IT engineer needs to create a virtual machine in Azure. Currently, the engineer has an Android-based workstation. Which of the following and the IT engineer used to create desired virtual machine? So you can just give a look. This is just a logical point of question you can find out. But I think
I'll give a hint.
you
Like,
should know
okay,
different.
sorry.
Yes, sir. No, sir. Go
No,
ahead.
saying is that, like, guys, when you read the questions, it's given a hint is there. If you look at it, there's a hint called has an Android OS based workstation, Android operating system based workstation. So you have to then rule out and say if someone is working on Android operating system, which one will be they might be using as well. That's how I recognized. And over to you if you have any other suggestions or question when you look at the question answers on that. Yeah.
Yeah, so you just actually, your answer already there in the question itself, right? You just need to go with the word game. So, okay, so you can register your answers, or I'm just going to show you the answer quickly.
Let's see if we can take the answers. 1 second. There are a lot of between, it's a mix, B, B, A, D. I can't really understand how the management tools are used. Okay, Rashid, I'll cover that. So later when you, so basically once someone is saying how the management tools are used. So there are different ways to create, manage, build. Ultimately what you're doing, you're creating resources on the cloud. You're creating a virtual machine, you're creating the storage, you're creating the network. You might be deleting them, you want to enhance them. So there are different ways to achieve same thing. You can use a graphical user interface the way you saw Pragyan doing from a GUI, which is a portal. You can use a command line like a command you can install on your laptop, command CLI, and then provision resources or manage resources on your Azure. You can use bash shell or you can use ARM template. How we're going to do on day 2, 3, 4, we are going to do some provisioning and we're going to use some of these different methods to see. So that's yet to come. We are just giving you tools. So for example, for a cooking, you can cook on a electric stove. You can cook on using a electric gas cooker and so on. So these are different options you have to provision and manage your resources. Yeah.
So the answer for this is B, Azure Cloud Shell, because one can go to the portal and launch Cloud Shell as shown. And option A, Power Apps is not at all used for these approaches, right? To create virtual machine, because Power Apps is an app development. Azure PowerShell is also there. Azure PowerShell, when you will go for the Azure PowerShell, CNDR, because there is no like as such any definition associated with them. We do have the Azure CLI as well. Azure CLI or PowerShell, they actually there is no support on Android OS. So that's why these two are not will be the right candidate for this. Then here we have the Azure Cloud Shell. That's the only candidate we have because it can work with almost with the Android approach as well and with the other approaches. So compute, and that's where we have our first demo.
Yeah, so I think I wanted to hold, we are top of our, unfortunately, I wanted to do, so what I'll do is I'll put an email for next compute on that part. So this is something which is yet to come. Like, so if you can hand it over to me, because we are like, initially we anticipated for 2 hours, but I did a survey, a lot of you guys answered. And you mentioned that instead of having 2 sessions or 2 or 3 sessions of 4 hours, you would prefer 2 hours, more sessions of 2 hours, so that your attention span stays. So that's why instead of having just 2 or 3 sessions of 4 hours, you might be having a little bit more number of sessions, but for 2 hours each, so that the attention span stays. And there's a lot we have covered in day 1, and we want to continue that. So we want you to recap, and then we'll give you some exercises for tomorrow for you to do that. I'm going to give you some exercise what we're going to do next, or what you can do in order to ready for you for the next part of that, what is going to be done for the next session for you. But big thank you for Pragyan, guys. So far I know we have covered a lot, and some guys who are already working to cloud might be, oh, we have just done a recap. But for those who are new, I think based on, if I have to look at from a beginner's point of view, we have covered a lot and very, very extensive. And the way your program you have explained is superb. I just want to like everyone to give us a rate and say between 1 to 5, 5 being you're happy, and of course, good karma. What would you think? And for those who are not giving 5, just let us know what we could have done to make it 5-star next time. So if you think that it's not 5 or Pragyan doesn't deserve 5, let us know what we can do to do 5, maybe that 5. I'm getting 5 plus Prashant. 10, John, thank you very much for 5 star. One person has given 4.5. Like the message, I'm moving too fast. Abhishek, let us know what we could have done to make it 5-star next time. 5, fantastic job, Pragyan and Atul. 10,000, Sai Chiran, thank you. You made us our day. There's one more 4.5 Om. Would love your feedback. Tell us a little bit. Too fast, Nikunj. I totally understand. Oh no, Ekne is saying too fast. 4.2 is Vijay Kumar. Vijay Kumar, let us know what you can do. 5 for both of you. 5 star. Julian, Raja, 5 star. 4.5, one person. Guys, again, those of and big thank you for those who have given 5, 10. There are a lot of guys are coming. Brilliant job, Pragyan. I'm going to do a recap on what we have covered, but also, oh, okay, I think 5, but not happy that 2-hour session. Sorry, like the reason why I'm saying is because we have a lengthier sessions, but people get a feedback and say by the time the 3rd hour or 4th hour comes, it becomes too much. And because so we wanted to have, I want you to actually implement it. A lot of time problem what people do is they learn but not implement. And I'm totally opposite. I learn more, or trust me, you're going to learn more. And I'm going to give you a lot of my tips which I used to learn. And as I said, making 10,000 happy customers. There are 10,000 plus members in our academy who have not only complete beginner in IT, some of them are complete beginner in IT, have done it. The only mantra I gave is doing hands-on labs. So don't just consume the content, implement it. And for implementation, you need to create a free account. So in front of your screen, K21Academy.com/Azure02. So make sure you go and create an account. And if you need any help, we have a community which is for in Telegram community, K21Academy.com/ I think Azure community. Install Telegram app. Those who are or paid members, you ask in WhatsApp group because you are very special. You have paid members. Those who are WhatsApp group, there'll be a dedicated account person or management person for you who will be looking after you. Rest all, you have a free Telegram community. Go and check and post all your questions in Telegram community on that. Sai, the recording will be available on YouTube channel for day 1. For day 2, 3, 4 onwards, I would please join live because we will not be sharing the recording for non-members. You'll get free absolutely for all the sessions, but you have to attend the live sessions for that. The details should already be in your inbox, or day 2 will be coming in your email as well. So keep an eye on for that. I'll do a quick recap, or first of all, I'll tell you what's yet to come because we have a lot action-packed details that are yet to be coming. So also, I'm going to give you a virtual machine a task, which means you're going to create a virtual machine, and I'm going to give a step-by-step video. You can either pick a Windows machine or you can pick a Linux machine. If you're not from Linux background, I would suggest you create a Windows machine. If you're not, or if you're comfortable, we'll give you that lab as well. So create that, keep an eye on inbox as well. And so just to give you, these are the different type of compute we're going to cover: virtual machine, app services, containers, Kubernetes, and virtual desktop. Then once these things are done, then we are going to cover from a networking point of view, we're going to cover virtual network. We're going to cover VPN gateways. We're going to cover express route, DNS. And then we're going to cover storage, like with different type of storage accounts, redundancies, different type of tiers, or how do you pick, where you pick. We'll also look at ultimate work is to migrate applications. So how do the migration Azure Migrate service means? We'll also look at identity and access management from a security point of view, Azure Active Directory, Azure Active Directory domain services, authentication, authorization, multi-factor authentication as well. Conditional access, and I know I get excited about these topics when I go. We also talk about Microsoft Defender, and again, those who are already member, you have everything available on the portal for you. Ask in WhatsApp group, and make sure you do all these videos, step-by-step videos of the future videos as well. Now, just for those guys who joined late, I'll do a quick recap, and after that we'll wrap it up. For those who were from day 1 and they want to leave, that's totally fine, because I think I'm on 7 minutes over the board, so I'll try to avoid that. So we started our journey with, as I said, we started with why to learn cloud. I mentioned about the world is moving towards DevOps, microservices, containers, and cloud. So focus on cloud, containers, Kubernetes, DevOps on that. We also looked at about the job opportunities. For job opportunities, I said that foundation is good for knowledge, but for jobs, I think you should either go for associate level or expert level. I would suggest if you're a beginner, I would suggest you begin with administration. Some of you guys jump directly on DevOps, which is also fine. Some of you guys who are more senior, they want to jump directly into solution architect. You can do that, but in actual, for you to be called as solution architect or DevOps, you can directly write these exams. But for you to get a badge of solution architect or DevOps engineer, you probably might have to do the administration as well. So that's another thing you can do for security if you prefer, if you do going for security. Now, what is this roadmap? Azure administration, what all hands-on lab will cover as well. As I said, in future session, I'll go a little bit more deeper for you if those who want to know as well. So what we covered was, we covered cloud overview, characteristics, CapEx and OpEx models, cloud service model, deployment model, shared responsibility, and we looked at briefly about Azure landscape services. We are going to go deeper into these as we move forward. We also looked at global infrastructure like geographies, region, fault domain, and I'm going to send you some more details, more documentation based on the feedback we get on the questions we got on as well. With that, a big thank you for Pragyan for doing a brilliant job. There are a lot of questions which were not able to cover because we have many questions, or hell lot more than what I usually used to get as well. So but we'll cover that over the next few days or over the email as well. Now, again, one key takeaway here is that you have to learn new things. Okay, and I'm glad that you came here, because not everyone came here. But those who came, those who take action will get result, and that's, I'm telling you based on my own experience. I transitioned from a very high-paying job as a architect, infrastructure architect, but till 2012-13, I was not doing cloud, and I thought I was late at the time. But as I enter now, the whole cloud game changed my trajectory on. And not only I did one cloud, then I picked up second cloud, third cloud, fourth cloud as well. So one key takeaway is actually implement those things. There are others like you. If anyone is nervous, anyone have any doubts, confidence they need, please feel free to reach out to my team. They will be more than happy to guide and suggest. These are some of the success stories to inspire you. With that, those who have not yet registered, I will recommend you to register by going to K21Academy.com/AZ-900 live. You will get notification about the day 2, day 3, and day 4, and so on that. With that, I think I'm 10 minutes over. We'll take 2 or 3 questions. If you want me to take 1 or 2 questions here at the bottom, but I'll cover remaining questions in an email. Julian is saying, I enjoy learning always. Thank you very much, Julian. Great. Raja is saying, is it mandated to complete AZ-104 if we are going to take Azure Solution Architect? So Raja, as I said, you can directly write an exam Azure Solution Architect AZ-305, but Microsoft will not give you a badge as a solution architect till you complete AZ-104. So yes, I think I would suggest you to do both of them, AZ-104 and 305. Today's foundation has been complete, or will it go more? No, today we have covered Abrar. We are going to have these sessions for 2 hours. So today we are done. Very good question. How much Microsoft will charge for creating a free account? So Microsoft will not, it's totally free. They give you 1 month free, but you get $100 credit, which means you can, you can use $100 within that first month. After that, you move to pay-as-you-go model, or you buy another different subscription as a part of this. Those who are part of our program, you get a Azure Pass to practice on top of these free classes. So if you're part of my Azure Administration, Solution Architect, Cloud Security, Azure Security, Azure DevOps, any of the programs, or data engineering or data analytics, please reach out to my team. Those who are member in our WhatsApp group. This is a private WhatsApp group only for the members. So you can request for Azure Pass if you have not requested. You get, I think, $100. Do you know, is it $200 or $100? I forgot. I think people are saying $200. So maybe I did it long time back. So might be $200. Yeah, you're right, guys.
It's $200.
$200. Thanks for that. Jinder is saying your motivation, inspiration is highly regarded. I'm glad to took this class. Thank you for real time and share your experience. Brilliant. Jinder, those who have found it useful, please share it with your colleagues. The more we share, the more we learn. I'll tell you how this journey started for me back in 2005-06. When I started my journey back in India, I was a DBA. I was lucky one to get a job as a database administrator. That time, it was not easy to get a job as a database administrator. I was lucky. I passed out from a pretty good institute in India, 𝗕𝗏𝗏𝗏. That was a very good institute. But my first 4 years were very, very painful because no one at that time used to share the knowledge. The Google was not there. So what I did was I saw someone helping me, or my manager helped me. No one in my team helped me at the time. And then I saw my manager helping. I made a mission to help others. And when I started helping others, I started learning a lot. I started my blog 2006-07, grew. I got a lot of consulting opportunities because of that. I started my consulting company, and then I kept learning. And again, I'm not showing, again, I'm repeating not to show off, but say the more you help others, the more you get back, the more you grow, the more you share, the more people will ask you, the more you will become curious to share, the more you will learn as well. Yep. I hope that makes sense. Is this training included certification as advertised? Is this training including the certification? Yes. So this is a free program for you. You have to write your own exam, AZ-900. Segan will give you more information about that. Those who are part of the program, of my members, you will get a lot more. We'll have a lot more sessions about the practice, etc. as well. Do we have to be certified to get a job? Very good question from Mokhtar. Do we have to get a job to get certified? Answer is no. In order for you to get a job, you don't need to be certified. But in order for your CV to be picked up for the interview, it's always good to have the certification. It's not mandatory. But again, I'll cover that one of the sessions and future sessions about this question. Very good question, Mokhtar, you have. Abrar is saying, could you please tell more about K21 membership? Is it paid? How much? Yeah, we'll cover that in future sessions, Abrar, on about how to become a member. I think my team shared that information on during registration, but I think we'll cover in upcoming sessions about how to do a membership. It's not available right now. I think we close that registrations. We'll come back again on to. I think I've covered. Faisal is saying, I want to join as a member. We'll keep an eye on inbox. Larby is saying, do you have a package for DP203? I need to get certified by March 5th. Yes, Larby, we have a package for DP203. That's a advanced program where we give, currently I think we're doing DP900, which is a data fundamental as a bonus for DP203, which is Azure Data Engineer. If you share your email address and on which country you're from, my team will reach out to you and they will give you a free demo of DP203, free demo. Yeah. Subhendu is saying, I saw one of the DP203, my Azure Data Engineer, which was covered in few months. Is there anything where we can more fast track basis? Yes. So all our programs are immediately, you can have everything immediately. You don't need to wait. So right now you saw the Azure fundamental in our membership, we have, or in our program, all the recording of the future sessions, sorry, the past session, the well-done videos, and the future sessions are available on the portal. Same thing for DP203. If you're looking for DP203, the well-done videos, lab, exercise, everything is available on immediately. All the previous live batches, on a weekly basis, we do DP203 live sessions so they can jump on and off, but you can learn at your own pace. The team will be there to support. So we have a support channel on WhatsApp groups that we do. And on that WhatsApp group, you can ask questions and then you can learn and you can finish it in probably 1 or 2 weeks as well. Larbi and Subhendu, those for DP203. Mersha is saying, is Azure 204 package available? Yes, we have Azure admin. Azure 204 is Azure developer. We have is a 204 package as well, and Pragyan is going to cover as well 204 as well. So we're going to bring him back on Azure 204 and data analytics DP300 and some of the DP203 as well. Okay, I think Vijay Kumar is saying, is certification mandatory or knowledge is enough? Vijay, knowledge is enough to clear the interview, but the challenge I see these days is that when an interviewer get the CV, there are a lot of CVs go for an for job posting, especially in this year from 2023 onwards. I see a lot of a lot of guys who are available in the market. If you want to stand out, then you can go for it's better to have certification. It's not mandatory. It's nice to have, but in order to clear the interview, the labs are important. That's why if you look at, we do a lot of hands-on labs. So hands-on labs are important. Yeah. Jinder is saying, this is my starting journey, so I'm really excited. Great, Jinder. We are too as well. I remember my days of when I was starting learning cloud. I got a really good the trainer. She's not available. She's not working anymore. She took a sabbatical, but I learned from another person. Her program is also in our program, but I learned from data from from Pragyan. He's brilliant as well. So I'm lucky to have mentors like, guys like Pragyan and a lot of other experts who I can go out to as well. So I'm excited as well. Great. Guru Krishna is saying, please send me the details of DP203 to email address and add me to WhatsApp group. So so WhatsApp group is for program members, paid members, but my team will share more details about free class on DP203, so you can see the demo and see if it makes sense or not. How much this duration will take to complete AZ-204? I think my Pragyan I've already mentioned, it's roughly around 40 hours. But one question is, okay, this question I get again and again, and someone says to me, hey, how much a particular topic will take? And though we have some high level guidelines saying that probably 40 hours, 32 hours, 48 hours, but I never believe in these numbers, because and that's why this whole academy helps in a manner of saying that you do at your pace. Some guys finish it in probably half a day or 1 day. I'm talking about beginner level. DP203, some guys finish it in 5 days. Some guys finish it in 10 days. Some guys take as long as it takes around 8 weeks or 10 weeks and so on, depending on how much time you're going to spend. That's why when I was learning these things, when I was building my team for consulting and was for my own learning, I found it very, very challenging that no one was ready to give at a pace which I'm ready with, or I want to learn. And that's why we build this academy where you can learn at your own pace. So you decide what is right for you pace, but roughly 40 hours. But then if you need more time, you give more time. That's why we have unlimited access. You have lifetime access, but you have unlimited retake over the next 1 year for live sessions. You can come back again and again. Brilliant. Rakesh is saying, I've registered for AZ-104. Can you get a Pragyan to do that training? So Rakesh, if you, we'll definitely bring on to the Pragyan for AZ-104 as well. But AZ-104, if you look at, if you're coming, you will be surprised. We have another expert, Kumar. He's one of the, we have 204 as well. And I'm more than happy to bring Pragyan as well for that. So keep an eye on, if you have, Rakesh, ping me on WhatsApp group, inside our WhatsApp group, and so that we can give you my existing Azure administration trainer, Kumar, is also brilliant as well. And so what we do is we keep rotating these, whoso is available on that particular point. So we'll definitely bring Pragyan again. Okay, next one is Praveen is saying, do we need to learn Azure administration, security engineer, and solution expert all to learn Azure data engineering and implementation and design and data solutions on Azure? Okay, so Praveen, your question is, do we need to learn administration, solution architect, security to learn data engineer? Answer is no. Data engineer is altogether different track where you begin with data engineering, DP203, where you do DP900 and other things as well. If you guys, I see a lot of guys or a lot of questions about DP203. So leave a message and my team will send you more details about DP203 program. This is more about Azure AZ-900 will help you in your journey, but DP203 is a separate track. Will be able to. So for DP203, you don't need to do Azure administration, Azure solution architect, or security at all. Okay. Having said that, once you do data engineering, DP203, a lot of guys ask me, what should I do next? So I would say solution architect or administration, depending on where you want to go. If you are 6 or 7 years and more experience, after data engineer, do solution architect. If you're younger, then you might pick up administration as well. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Next question is, Segun is saying, can I take AZ-104 and 305 without taking 204? Yes, absolutely. 204 is a Azure developer track, and it's only for useful if you're a developer. If you're not a developer, then you stick to 104 and 305, Segun. You might go for Azure DevOps as well, AZ-400. Okay. Jessica is saying, so should I join Telegram as well as WhatsApp group? So Jessica, if you're part of my paid program, either of 104 or 305 or 900, then join WhatsApp, stay in WhatsApp group. Because WhatsApp, you have a dedicated person, dedicated account manager or dedicated teaching assistant, which is Satyam, who's also answering here, and Rupal, and there are 2 other guys, Kanupriya, and there are total 4 members are there to support. So you have much more personal attention on WhatsApp. Jessica, if you are paid member, then stick to WhatsApp, please. Yeah. Larbi is saying, is there a package to access everything for a period of time? Yes, we have a package for where you can have all our programs. You don't need to go to 1 or 2. Entire portal, Larbi, just reach out to my team. contact@k21academy.com, or you share your details, and I'll ask someone, or email address, I'll ask someone to connect with you. Please. Okay. Gokul is saying, you provide Microsoft Azure certificate? No, we don't provide Microsoft Azure certificate. Microsoft, you need to write an exam which is done by Microsoft. PSN is the service certificate provider on behalf of Microsoft. We help you in preparing for the certification. If you're part of a training program, we'll give you a certificate saying that you have completed a training with us, and we will take some exam. We will give you some some labs to perform, etc. And based on that, we'll issue a certificate saying that you have done a program with us. But for these certifications, you have to write an exam for Microsoft. Yeah. Julian, I think I've answered your question. Thank you very much. Jinder is saying, what would you recommend if I'm interested in a job related to cloud, sales support, sales engineer, or design consultant? So Jinder, tell me a little bit more about, maybe I think you connect to one of my team members. Tell a little bit more about when you say you want a good job of a sales support engineer or design consultant, because these are three different roles you have given. Sales support, sales engineer, or design consultant. For you to become a good sales engineer, you need, I think, reach out to tell a bit more about how many years your experience you have, or are you fresher, or etc. Anamika is saying, could you please replace Telegram with WhatsApp? Sorry, Anamika. As I said, WhatsApp is for our program members. Those who are part of the program member, they have WhatsApp. Telegram, WhatsApp only have, I think, limited limitations, and we have Telegram. We have around 8,000 members. So WhatsApp is for paid program members, and Telegram is for free community, those who are not yet part of the program member. With that, I think I've covered pretty much most of the questions. I think I've covered. Satyam, that method is wrong. We'll be indoctrinated with the questions. So guys, if you want to reach out to my team, that's only for non-technical questions. If you're a paid member, then reach out to WhatsApp group for any technical questions. If you are not a paid member, then Telegram for technical questions, please. With that, I think we are 30 minutes over. I think I have already covered. Stay tuned for day 2. As I said, more and more interesting things are coming. If you have not yet registered, K21Academy.com/AZ-900 for these free classes. And tomorrow or next, we are going to begin with next topic, which is how to create basically the compute services. This is where we're going to begin. We'll create virtual machines. We'll look at app services, containers, Kubernetes, etc. Make sure you have a free cloud account ready, or a cloud account ready, because we are going to do some hands-on labs together on day 2 and so on. And this is more yet to come. With that, thank you very, very much for each of you who are part of this program today. And thanks for rating us 5-star for all of these. Big thank you to, must say big thanks to, credit goes to Pragyan for doing brilliant job. Satyam for helping, Satyam and Rupal from my team to help me with these presentations. Also, I'm missing a lot of my names, and Surbhi from my team who manages my entire technical team. Rahul as well, who helped a lot on these preparations, and I think Kanu a little bit on doing the hands-on labs as well. So big thank you, and the big thank you for all of you guys to be here. We'll see you on day 2. Keep an eye on inbox. Take care, and bye for now. Bye-bye, everyone.